Well, welcome everyone to our first quarter of 2014 webinar for Planned Giving and Development Professionals. My name is Jim Murphy. I'm the Managing Program Director at the Episcopal Church Foundation, and it's wonderful for you to join us today. We have heard many questions and concerns about how best to work with charitable gift annuities. And so we decided to make this first webinar for Planned Giving and Development Professionals about charitable gift annuities. And we've been able to assemble a wonderful team for you here today to speak with you and to give you the most information about charitable gift annuities, the program that we have at the Episcopal Church Foundation, as well as to offer some insights to you for how people have done it literally in the trenches. And for that, we have someone who's been doing a wonderful job out in Oklahoma. So I'll introduce everybody as we get started. So we've had a strong year when it comes to charitable gift annuities for the Episcopal Church Foundation. For those of you who may be listening to this recording and not be a development professional, very briefly, a charitable gift annuity, or CGA, is a life income gift where an individual makes an irrevocable gift, and in exchange for that irrevocable gift, they go into a contract with a charity, in this case with the Episcopal Church Foundation. The donor would receive a substantial tax deduction in the year that he or she would make the gift, and they were able to choose one or two individuals to receive a consistent stream of income based upon the age of the person receiving that income for the rest of their lives. And that income, which is received, is guaranteed for the individuals receiving it. It's guaranteed by the Episcopal Church Foundation. As you can imagine, these gifts are quite popular because they offer fixed income and guaranteed income to the individuals who are seeking to do it. It can be used in a variety of ways. Some individuals use it for themselves. However, it's also possible for those who are younger to create a charitable gift annuity, to receive the charitable deduction for themselves, and then to pass the income at a much higher annuity rate to older individuals, such as their parents or grandparents. So charitable gift annuities are a wonderful opportunity for individuals interested in this type of planned gift. Regrettably, Meg King could not join us today due to some power problems in the state of Pennsylvania, but I'm happy to share with you that we continue to have a very strong charitable gift annuity program. We are licensed to do charitable gift annuities in all 50 states all across the country. And this year we had over 35 of those charitable gift annuities, accounting for over $1 million of total gifts. Many gifts are in the area of 10 or 20,000, but some are even larger, and they can be up to even the multiple hundred thousands. So I'm very happy to have any discussions with you that you might be interested for a charitable gift annuity program at your parish or diocese. We serve the entire Episcopal Church for these special gifts, and myself or Meg King would be more than happy to speak with you regarding how best you could promote charitable gift annuities at your church, at your diocese, or at your Episcopal entity. I'd like to turn the floor now over to Craig Bossy, who is the Chief Operating Officer and Vice President of Finance at the Episcopal Church Foundation. Craig, would you like to tell us any insights you wish about the Planned Giving program at the Episcopal Church Foundation?
Jim, I'd love to. I thank you for letting me participate on this call. And I'd be pleased to briefly update participants on this call and all those who subsequently view this on the status of the Episcopal Church Foundation on both its financial and somewhat on its programmatic footing. So here's some headlines about the year 2013. ECF had a very strong 2013, both financially and programmatically. Our three central financial resource programs, which are planned giving, capital campaigns, and endowment management, all surpassed their budget goals for 2013. It's worth noting that in the area of planned giving, we saw new life income gifts of approximately $1.5 million. This added to the assets that are already in our care. But I think most important, through these programs, ECF is able to reach out and support Episcopal parishes, dioceses, and related organizations throughout the country, providing what we hope are needed and useful support and expertise. Now, in addition to expanding our outreach throughout the church in 2013, another net result of these thriving programs was the positive impact they had on ECF's overall financial performance and balance sheet. ECF's financial stability was further strengthened by the results in the year, and our net assets grew by over $5 million to approximately $45 million at the end of the year. And though our 2013 audited financials are not yet available and won't be for a few months, I do invite you to visit our main website, www.episcopalfoundation.org, where we post not only ECF's audited financials, but we also post our Form 990 for your review. And just to familiarize you with Form 990, ECF, as an integrated auxiliary of the Episcopal Church, isn't required to file with the IRS. We do so voluntarily. We think that it promotes greater transparency about our financials, about our operations. So every year we do file Form 990 with the IRS, and that, along with our audited financials, are on our website for your review. It also helps entities like Charity Navigator and others make, we think, more informed judgments about us. Now, the total value of gift annuities and trusts and pooled income funds that are under ECF management increased in 2013 from the prior year, and now the asset base for these life income gifts are approximately $36.6 million, and that's up from approximately $34 million in the prior year. So again, we continue to build our planned giving program. Now, as you know, ECF guarantees gift annuities under its management. We backstop payment for every gift annuity over the life of those annuities. State regulators, typically state insurance departments, require that sufficient reserves be maintained for anticipated future annuity payments. And as of 12/31, the annuities under ECF management not only meet all state reserve requirements, we far exceed those reserve requirements. Of course, if at any time situations change in the economic environment or markets aren't doing so well, ECF guarantees and will transfer any required funds from our endowment into the pooled gift annuity fund in order to meet all state reserves. And that is a guarantee we make to all people who entrust their CGAs to us. And yes, look, the initial results for 2014, look, notwithstanding how awful equity markets are in January, which do lower our long-term, our near-term asset valuations, I've got to tell you that we're starting out of the gate in 2014, very solid performance. And by solid performance, I'm talking more about our programmatic outreach. We continue to leverage available technologies, such as this Adobe Connect webinar, to reach more people within the church. And January this year was better than January last year. We offer a greater diversity of topics and resources for financial management and stewardship, as well as a range of topics for leadership development. You may know that we have two websites. One, the main website, episcopalfoundation.org. A lot of resources there that can assist in the areas of planned giving and endowment management and capital campaign management. But the second website is one that's called ECF Vital Practices. And I think it's a site that if you haven't been there, you'll want to go there. It's an easy to navigate site. It provides really useful and practical tools and information on a range of topics having to do with leadership development, congregational operations, and stewardship. It's both a storeroom for best practices, and I tell you, it's regularly updated with new topics, where new topics are discussed by practitioners in the field. Really well worth visiting. So I think the bottom line here is, overall, the financial well-being of ECF is solid, and our commitment to running an active and vibrant planned giving program that serves the wider church continues, and it continues under the strong leadership of Jim Murphy and Meg King.
Thank you, Craig. That was very helpful. And of course, that is something that is important when you're talking about guaranteeing an income, that the entity that's guaranteeing it, such as in this case with ECF, that there is a strong financial backing. So thank you very much for reviewing that, Craig. At the end of our webinar, I will be posting the various webinars that are coming up, as well as the website which Craig has already mentioned, our Vital Practices website, on which you can get this webinar, as well as many, many others, all to empower the leadership of your congregation or Episcopal entity. Well, without further ado, I'd like to get to someone else who we've had an association with for quite some time, which is Father Dwight Helt from St. John's Episcopal Church in Norman, Oklahoma. Actually, St. John's is also an endowment client. You invest your endowment with us here at the Episcopal Church Foundation. We also have been working with lay leaders as well as clergy at St. John's for quite some time, and I'm very happy to introduce Dwight Helt. But before I let Dwight speak, I'm going to just do a quick recap on Dwight's bio. Father Dwight is a graduate of Oklahoma State University, as well as he is a graduate of the Episcopal Seminary of the Southwest in Austin. Before ordination, he worked for Oklahoma State University for many years, and then as a Christian educator. He also, following ordination, was an assisting priest at St. John's in Tulsa, moving to Austin to then serve as chaplain of St. Stephen's Episcopal School, which is a fantastic Episcopal school that we also, seek to work with on their planned giving. He then went on to do other successful efforts in education, and he moved to Norman, Oklahoma in 2003 to become the rector of St. John's Church. He served as summer camp committee chair and has been very active at St. Crispin's camp, which is very well known throughout the entire country and is a gem. If you've never gone to visit it, it's a wonderful, wonderful place to visit. So, Father Dwight, without further ado, I'd like to turn the floor over to you, and also just to remind anyone, if they have questions for either Craig or for Father Dwight, you are welcome to ask them, or simply to type them into the chat message, and I will ask them. So, Father Dwight, I know that St. John's has done some really interesting things in promoting charitable gift annuities at your parish over the last year. Can you share with us some of your reflections, and especially some of the challenges as well as the successes that you've had at St. John's?
You bet. More than happy to, and honored to be a part of this webinar today, and always wonder when we are asking someone from Oklahoma to try to be an expert about something, maybe there's something wrong with that. But to start off, I would, down this part we say, hello y'all. But we've discovered lately that sometimes people think y'all simply refers to one person, so we've had to make it plural. So hello all y'all. So that's our beginning here. I want to start with a brief history about where we are with the foundation, with the Episcopal Church Foundation, our own foundation, just briefly because it sheds some light on some of the challenges we've had with the program. We received an initial gift from a donor in the 80s of about current value of $250,000 worth of stock. And the church at that time decided to establish our own foundation, a separate not-for-profit 501c3 corporation, for those funds and develop a board and so forth, and they did that. Interesting enough, though, until after 2003, when I came on board and discovered there was an existing foundation with a board that had been meeting and so on, but the original gift was still in the original stock and nothing had happened to it. And so we felt like that we were just missing an opportunity here. We got a new chairman on that board named Kevin McGehee, who's been working really closely with Ken Quigley to be able to update our bylaws, to put in place procedures and policies for gifts, and we developed a 4-color brochure which we can give to people that shows our connection to the Episcopal Church Foundation and what our foundation is for. And that group also has decided, instead of meeting their annual meeting essentially at 7:30 some Sunday morning, that they have combined their annual meeting, our foundation's annual meeting, with our church annual meeting, so the whole congregation can see the connection between those two institutions and how the foundation is designed strictly to support St. John's Episcopal Church, Inc. So that's kind of the first part of this whole thing. So then, as we begin to take a look at the history, we realized that people weren't making gifts because they didn't really know about the foundation or know how to make a gift. And we had previous clergy and vestries had really asked the foundation to lie low during times of capital campaigns and difficult economies, feeling like that there might be a conflict. I don't personally believe that's true. I have evidence from previous conversations with others that's not true. So we decided we would begin to engage the congregation more actively with the foundation and the idea of endowed gifts. What happened was fortuitous after that then. We have a member, Jerry Smith, who is a graduate of the University of Kansas, and he had been giving gift annuities to the university year after year for many years. And thought, this is a great deal. I just assume give it to the church, or both, he said, if it were possible. First of all, we got him on the foundation board right away, and then began to research what we could do about providing the opportunity for people to use the gift annuity as a tool for an endowed gift, and discover our diocesan office was not able to do that. We have a rather large endowment there, but it was not situated in such a way as they could offer us that opportunity. And that's when we turned to the Episcopal Church Foundation, because it was just so easy for us to do. So once we realized it would be easy for us to provide these to members of the congregation, that 55 and older and 5,000 were the basic minimums, we made an initial attempt to let the congregation know about this. And what we did was we identified people in the congregation who were in the right age category, who we believe from simply knowing one another in church had the kinds of resources available to them to do this type of gift, and might have an interest in making a gift to the church in their will or estate anyway. And we had a series of lunches, and this is probably 2008 now, and we had those lunches in the church in a nice room, and we had tablecloths and a nice meal, and made the presentation with information we received from the office at the Episcopal Church Foundation. Had an illustration that was really Jerry Smith's personal illustration to show. And we felt really good about that, had brochures, applications we passed out, and we didn't have hardly a single gift from that. It was the most amazing failure ever, and we thought we were doing so well. And so what we did receive from that was 2 gifts in 2009 from a former senior warden and from Jerry, and then in 2010 another gift from that same former senior warden. In 2011, no gifts at all, because some of the original people who got behind this, and it was actually 3 families, said that they'd be happy to give more gifts, but they wanted to see more members of the congregation join in the effort before they wrote another check. And I heard that. And I understand that. So what we did was we had an honor dinner that Kevin McGeehee and I arranged at a local restaurant for all those who had given. So it was a small group, but just spouses and the people who had given. So about 8 or 10 of us got together. But in that honor dinner, the conversation turned to how can we make it happen? How can we really get the congregation to engage in this process? Because all the people there were sold on the gift annuity. And I was thinking that, the gift annuity opens a door to other kinds of gifts as well. And so that was a great deal of my interest lay there. So a new idea came up at that dinner from one of the members. He said, he's an attorney, and he said, face-to-face is how we have to do this, face-to-face, one-on-one with individuals. So we went back to our shopping list of people. 2 members of this small group of 3 couples offered their homes, wine, cheese. I agreed to, with office staff's help here and with the help of Meg, to provide the proper illustrations for those meetings. And so starting in last September 2013, we began to meet almost every Thursday night, including tomorrow night, with a couple or an individual who we felt like had the ability to do this. We met for no longer than maybe an hour and 15 in a home, wine and cheese. I would lead off by simply saying what the needs of the church are. Here we are, and the basic thing I said, which I believe absolutely to be true given the demographics of the church, we're a pretty good-sized church, actually. We're about 800 folks here, and that's pretty good size for the Episcopal Church, as you all know. And yet every year our budget is strained to be able to meet the needs of programs, staff, and especially our building, which is an older building, built in 1892. So we really have to work on those kinds of things. So I can see that the history of the church, as we project it into the future, what's going to happen to St. John's Norman in the future, is not certain, unless we have some way of being able to provide additional funding over and above the year-to-year funding from our pledge campaigns. Our older people are dying. We get a lot of younger people coming to the congregation, which we're glad for. Young families are just overflowing at our morning service. They take a lot more program money to support them, and they don't give as much because they haven't got to that point in their life. So we really need this additional source of income to guarantee that the church will be here in the future. So that's the pitch I make, and then Jerry will talk them through the illustration, which we have printed by a local copy shop when we received it from Meg. We put it on a large poster board so it can be put at the head of the table. We can all see it. We haven't learned quite yet to take people's ages off. Some of the ladies don't want to have their age up there in big print, but we're working on that. And then we just make the presentation. And so far, in 2013, we have 8 gifts for 2013, and I think we have 2 or 3 already made in 2014. So we felt like that effort in the fall was really worthwhile. We have placed a plaque in the back of the church of the narthex, actually, when you first come in. 2 of them. One that shows gifts that are given in large sums, $25,000 or more, to the foundation, just as either a will, estate, or a cash gift. Then we have a separate plaque for the gift annuities, and on that large plaque, the plates show who gave which year. And the reason we're doing that is we're encouraging people to continue to give year by year. And this year, we're going to take all those people who gave in 2013 and ask them to give again in 2014. So far, our record on that is pretty good. We've had people who gave in 2009 who gave in 2010 and so forth. And so we think this will be one of the things we can really do to get this to perpetuate itself, is for people to give multiple year gifts.
And of course, Dwight, what's really important for people to realize when it comes to charitable gift annuities, as you age, you get a higher and higher annuity rates because they correspond to your age.
Absolutely. And some of our folks who are giving are in their 70s and 80s, and those interest rates are really good. And one of the things they can see is they can't find that rate anyplace else. So just a couple of things about fallout. I don't want to take too much time and allow some time later on for questions, but The positive fallout of this has been in multiple areas. Number one, as people came to us and began to talk to us, and we talked to them about the church's needs and what was going on, we get a chance to hear their concerns as too. What were they concerned about the church, and what were the things they most want to contribute to the church for? What was their experience with St. John's in the past? All those things are wonderful, especially for a rector to hear, but for members of the committee to hear. As we began to speak about that, this last year we had two of the couples who did pledge and gave us gift annuities who also raised their yearly pledge because they heard an honest, straightforward explanation of where we were and what the needs were. So we had two do that. One of the folks who came to us, and then we were currently, as I told Jim, we're having kicking off a capital campaign here in May. A person who heard about that gave us a $50,000 gift to the capital campaign after having given us a gift annuity as well. So the message here is that there's no conflict, and I've told this to the vestry and to the foundation board, there's no conflict between people who want to give in one way or another. Actually, giving begets giving. And so I think that that's been a wonderful fallout, increased pledges, gifts to the capital campaign. We also have had some individuals who looked at that and said, can I just write you a check? I don't really care about the investment so much, but, I think I'd like to write you a check. So we've let people write us checks. It's, oh, sure, you don't want to turn that down. But so we've had some cash gifts to the foundation as well from folks who decided that was a way they'd like to pursue that. And one of them has promised to give every year. So, again, we have that going on. Of course, we place those people on the plaque as well. So tomorrow, Catherine Keister, who's my associate here, has received from Meg the illustrations, color, from the Episcopal Church Foundation showing what people will receive, what the interest rate will be, and so on. Those are currently at the copy shop. They're being copied today. I'll pick them up tomorrow and take them to Jerry Smith's home, and there we'll meet with two couples to begin to talk to them about their possible gift annuity. I think I'll stop with that and see if that's good enough for now, Jim, or is there something else I'm missing?
Well, I'm inviting everyone to pose any questions they may have. We'll also hear from State Street Bank in Boston momentarily. But one thing I wanted to highlight, Father Dwight, is that you demonstrated something that we promote in all of the different things that we do, which is transparency. In all of our work with helping people to think more broadly about raising financial resources, an essential component is being transparent, being clear, and sharing with your constituents the reality of your situation and your vision for the future. As I often will say in my basic workshops, you need to explain what you're raising money for and more the vision that you have for the monies that you're requesting. Secondly, you have to have policies and procedures in place to help build trust and confidence among the members of the congregation, which you've also done in putting together endowment and gift acceptance policies, having clear and transparent budgets. And all of that leads to this understanding and willingness by the members of the congregation to be more generous. And whether or not they give a charitable gift annuity or another type of planned gift or increase their giving, all of this goes toward the same end of raising people's awareness and their willingness to be generous and to support the work of their local Episcopal community of faith.
It's been very helpful to have this opportunity, and for all the reasons you said, and I mentioned before to Meg and maybe you on the phone too, the canons of the church require clergy to teach about wills and estates and so on. That's a part of what we're supposed to do. This gives me a way of doing it that I can feel good about. I mean, other than trying to address it from the pulpit or mention it at the annual meeting, this is a real tool for that, and so I really appreciate that. I'm looking down at the chat like you told me not to, but I see Dan has a question that I can't fully answer. All I can say is that our unique history at St. John's is it was already there, and so we're using that tool which already pre-exists, and our funds, as Jim said, are all being invested with the church foundation. But I'm sure someone else can help answer that question, Beth.
If I may just say a couple of words and then we'll wrap up with anything else you'd like to say, Father Dwight. There's a question posed is asking about the pros and cons of setting up a separate 501c3 foundation to hold the endowment of a parish versus simply having the parish itself directly hold those assets. And as Father Dwight has said, it is true, it depends upon the cultural circumstances. There may have been cultural circumstances that promoted creating a separate foundation to hold those funds. However, and Ken Quigley and I work with this with parishes all across the country, generally, as a best practice, it is usually best, again, depending on the culture of the parish, for the parish itself to hold its own endowment directly and not to have it held by a separate 501c3. The reason for that typically is that there is a natural confusion unless there's some very clear coordination and very clear communication, such as in the case of St. John's Norman. But typically people are confused about what exactly the foundation does and how it's going to serve the future mission and ministry of the congregation. Most people, when they make a planned gift, regardless of the type, want that gift to last for the future mission and ministry of the congregation, and therefore they want to make it directly to the congregation. And when there's a separate foundation, there ends up being a slight confusion, and some people may not act. Also, there may have been a residue of distrust between a foundation, and that's why it was created, and the vestry or the church itself. And what we have found, Ken Quigley and I, time and time again, is when you have a separate 501c3, the majority of the time, the assets of that foundation do not grow very much after they're created, unless there's a true concerted effort coordinating the communication efforts between the foundation and the church, and that there is direct representation of church leadership involved in the foundation. Because what typically happens is you may have a good start of a certain amount of money going into the foundation assets, but most of the time they don't grow much after that. And endowment assets typically grow through new planned gifts. And there's just some natural tension when you have a separate foundation. As I say, it is possible if you are very careful about coordinating the leadership representation between the parish and the existing foundation, but most of the time foundations do not typically grow if they're separate from the actual mission and ministry. And it's a part of that too. You need to have the mission and ministry together on one direct team so there's one clear direction for the congregation. Father Dwight, would you like to add anything to that? I think your circumstances actually add to the communication level between the parish and the foundation.
It was kind of our unique history at the time, and I won't get into that caused the development of that foundation, but we have very close connection between the foundation and the church. Like I said about the annual meetings being held together, but also the members of the foundation are always church members, members of the vestry oftentimes, active people in the community, where there really is no division about that. I'll say one thing that helps a lot is that we have developed several different pockets in our foundation that you are managing for us. And one of them is called the Rector's Challenge Fund. It's monies that are given for open purposes, non-endowed and open. We have endowed funds obviously there too. We made a request recently, the vestry did, to the foundation for matching funds to help us buy a church van that the youth needed. So the youth raised some money and the church raised some money, and then the foundation matched it. That was a tremendous way of showing people what the foundation can do for the church. It's just an example of the ways in which that foundation can help ministry, and it made a big difference in people's attitudes. Look what the foundation can do. In the future, it can do more in a lot of areas if people continue to remember that in their giving.
Thank you very much, Father Dwight. Craig, before we bring on our friends at State Street Global Advisors, do you have any further comment on this topic or anything else that Father Dwight said? Oh, yes. it might help if I enable you to speak. Please go ahead, Craig.
Be honest, I don't. I found a lot of what Father Dwight had to talk about to be very informative, and at the risk of complimenting him here in public forum, that it sounds like he's really handling a lot of those issues that you're raising vis-a-vis the foundation in exactly the right way to make it effective. I think that our experience is that we've seen often just the opposite, of where it hasn't been handled well, and therefore the disconnect has been very problematic. But I got to tell you, it sounds like it's being handled well in Norman, Oklahoma.
Thank you, Craig. Father Dwight, any final words before we bring our friends from State Street back online?
Well, just one more trick, and one more technique, I should say. What we've started doing now when we go into our meetings with someone who's getting ready to make a gift, like a Thursday night, I will actually have my associate fill out the forms from your website in advance and have them in a folder along with our brochure and your brochure and so on, everything they need to have. The only thing we won't have is like Social Security numbers and so on, those kind of things, but we'll pre-fill out all the paperwork for them. So all they really have to do is sign their name about 3 places, and assuming they've already contacted and have a conversation with their financial advisor, and write a check. And we've had people do that. And the other day, in fact, I had a volunteer in the office, a woman who was asking me, what are you doing with these big posters and stuff? And I said, here's what I'm doing. She said, can I do that? I said, sure. So I typed up the forms, handed it to her, and she wrote the check. So it really works wonderfully that well. So thank you for the opportunity to speak today.
Oh, thank you, Father Dwight. That was a wonderful recap, and also a good pointer to put out there to keep things simple and easy for people. That is a lesson when it comes to raising resources. Things need to be easy for people. And what I'd like to do, everyone can certainly continue to ask questions to everyone who's online, but I would like now to draw in 2 people. I'm sorry I don't have Sean Curran's name up there. I thought only Joanne was joining us, but I'd like to introduce Joanne Pipkin, who's Principal Team Leader at State Street Global Advisors, Charitable Asset Management Division, as well as Sean Curran. And I don't have Sean's title, but if I had to give Sean a title, it would be
here we go.
Tremendous and helpful and wonderful person to work with, because he is one of my favorite people to work with, as well as Joanne.
Thank you, Jim.
Joanne, I know you've had tremendous experience over several years with charitable gift annuities and many, many other types of life income gifts like trusts. But could you please talk for a few minutes about charitable gift annuities in general, some of maybe the trends you are seeing, and what would really be helpful also would be any insights that you would like to share with the people that are online who are both development professionals as well as volunteers at their congregation, and they may be listening to this after it's been recorded.
Appreciate that, Jim. Thank you very much on behalf of myself and Sean, who is experiencing the snow in Boston, and I'm here in New Hampshire experiencing the same snowfall, so we appreciate joining you today. And also want to say, for those that are not familiar with our connection, State Street Global Advisors, to the Episcopal Church Foundation, we've had the privilege of working with the foundation since 1996 in managing the gift annuity programs, the charitable remainder trust, and the pooled income funds that you have been so generously able to add to over these years. And my privilege has started in 1998, so Jim, you're correct. I do have a historical perspective, and one of the nice things about working with a program and a company where we manage over 200 nonprofits doing the very same thing of managing gift annuities. We haven't the window of to see how is the foundation in working in relation to other organizations, and in particular other religious organizations that have a similar structure, and we've had a chance to look that over for 2013. And then I'm going to address the overall trends that we saw over 2013 in the way of giving to gift annuity funds. For those that may not know that since about 10 years ago, charitable gift annuities have been the most popular gift in the planned giving area. Has just increasingly grown over time, where programs started small and then saw that this was an advantage for their organization. So when we talk to the Episcopal Church, and I know Jim and Craig have said that 2013 was a very strong year for the funds, I'm going to say it was outstanding. When we have an opportunity to look at the Foundation's gift annuity program versus 2012 to 2013, it's easy to say that, as Craig said, the $1.5 million that you raised in this area in 2013, well, that was an increase of double of what the activity occurred in 2012. With that said, there was one major gift that raised the numbers a little higher for that, and that is something, by the way, we've also seen trending in other gift annuities, where there was one very generous donor that boosted the program. But even when we take back out that large gift, we're still talking about a program that raised in dollars over 33.5% from 2012 to 2013. So we can talk dollars. How about number of gifts? When we look over the programs, the funds from 2012 in number of gifts to 2013, we also saw an increase of over 42%. It's where you had 44 donors give in 2013. Another aspect that we look at is how many are repeat donors to new donors. Of the 44 donors who gave gift annuities, 27 were new donors. And that is just stellar, because when you look at a program going forward, you're happy to see that those that are already in the program giving, because they like what they see, they like what they receive, they enjoy the benefits, and they see clearly your mission and what they're receiving from it. But when you have 27 new donors, you're now adding to your base, and that's always a strong indication of how well you're doing. So we looked at that, and also we were looking at an opportunity to say, what's the average gift? Because we, working across our programs, when we look at the average gift given over the year, inclusive of the large gift, you're well above the average. Now, we haven't calculated every gift, every program and their activity over the year, and we'll be doing that later in the year. But when we have that, looking back at some of the averages, you were well above with the large gift. And when we back out that large gift, you were still above the average for organizations in your area, as in, when I say that, as a national organization reaching out to across the country, also particularly in the religious area. So let's talk about the religious areas. We had an opportunity to look at some of the programs that we manage, very similar structures looking in the area of religion. We know that when you look at overall in the United States, religious giving leads the space of people giving from oral education and religious organizations and social issues. You once again led the pack, it's easy to say. Other organizations were not as successful in bringing in the gifts. So whatever you are doing, I would encourage you to keep on doing it. When I say they were down, I meant also down in dollars and in number of gifts. There was one organization that, similar to you, had one big gift, but when you back that out, they were actually flat for the year in giving. So here you are, leading the pack in the religious area, when we have an opportunity to also look beyond all of the religious areas and can try to look at all of the programs we manage. On aggregate, we were down 16% to maybe even a little bit down, not looking at every single program, but on aggregate, some of our bigger ones, we were down 16% in giving. There were some organizations that just increased their giving by possibly one big gift, but on average, the dollars were down, and definitely on average, the number of gifts were down. So all of that leads us to the Episcopal Church Foundation having one of the most successful years when we look at year to year, when we look at your organization in its own area of religious organizations, and when we look at all of the organizations that we manage here. And I will take any questions, or Sean will take any questions if you have any questions.
Well, Joanne, I actually do, and since our audience is primarily development leaders all across the country, can you tell us what is the average charitable gift annuity nationally, and what is the average charitable gift annuity for religious entities?
Well, we have on average around 18,000 in the national organizations, and I would say that when we look at the religious, it's a little bit lower, probably around 15,000. And you were over 22,000 when we look at the average. And then with the addition of the big gift, that took it to 33,000.
So Joanne, I know that we work very closely with State Street on a number of levels and with these individual gifts and providing service. For the benefit of those out in the audience today, is there anything that's unique about our program, perhaps in the way we promote, that you think would be helpful for the people who are listening to hear so that they could consider how they might adapt their own programs for promoting charitable gift annuities and other life income gifts and planned gifts?
I think one of the factors as we look over, it's not sometimes about what you're saying, it's who's saying it. And the foundation has had one of the most consistent programs in at least the last 10 years of people, you, Jim, and Craig, all the leaders at the foundation going out and saying the same message. We're here to help. We're here to establish the Episcopal Church Foundation's ability to connect to people within the Episcopal world. I think that consistent message is the stewardship of these gifts can take time. From what we've heard, they can take from 12 to 24 months to have a donor completely understand what a charitable gift annuity is. Yeah. And you have consistently said over and over, here's the message, and here we are. And just being that foundation, I think, has helped out. Those organizations, as you know, the turnover is high in the nonprofit world in the fundraising area. So if you can keep a consistency of the same message by the same people, you know, someone who is maybe 65 today and possibly not ready to retire, but in 5 years when they are 70, they'll say, wait a minute, I've heard this, so maybe this is what I want to do, or they are now 71 and a half and starting to take some money out of their IRA. They might want to say, hey, you know, this is something that I want to do. Let me go call whomever, you know, it may be that I connected in maybe 3 years ago or 2 years ago and heard this message. So I think the consistency, both the foundation and I think obviously now the fundraisers out in the field are presenting to your potential donors.
Father Dwight, related to everything which Joanne has been saying, I'm just curious from your perspective of seeing many people give again and again through the years, is there any factor that comes to mind that has been most beneficial or most useful? Has it been the ability to give illustrations? Has it just been the constant awareness raising? Any thoughts on that?
There's definitely a learning curve. I appreciate Joanne mentioning that. It takes a while for people to get on board with the whole idea. And initially, in our little lunches, we discovered that some people were telling us that their financial advisor had told them not to do an annuity. That was not a tool, and they shouldn't use it. And so we were puzzled by that because what we had heard and seen was just the opposite of that. So I think there's a major learning curve there. Once the people get it and realize how it can benefit their own personal investments plus help the church, then it's easy to ask them the second, third, and fourth year. They're already sold on the idea. But there is that learning curve about how can this fit into my investment portfolio? How does this fit the needs of the church? How does this thing really work? And a lot of people don't know a thing about gift annuities. And so that's the big thing to overcome. And that's why I think our one-on-one conversations have made all the difference. They can ask us what they think might be a dumb question, and we just answer across the table with a glass of wine. It makes a big difference that we weren't getting those questions before in a large group. And so you really have to work at people education. Exactly.
You bring up an interesting point about professional advisors, and we always advise before anyone finalizes any type of planned gift, whether it be a bequest or charitable gift annuity or anything, that they seek the confirmation and advice of their appropriate legal, tax, or financial advisors. One note I will make, though, on this topic, I was speaking to a very wealthy woman out in California several months ago, and she had a similar experience where her advisor, and she's multi-millionaire, and her financial advisor was basically discouraging her from making any type of gift, even one that would provide her additional income and provide a greater return than she was currently receiving. And she said, and I quote her many times, is that she felt she had to be her own advocate for her own, charity. She had to be the one that went forward and said, no, I wish to make this type of a gift. I mean, clearly there are benefits that people receive in the income, but regardless of the income benefit, what motivates people to give this gift is a belief in the future mission and ministry of a particular church or other Episcopal entity. And so it's important for us to encourage donors as they're thinking about this to, go forward and challenge sometimes what their situation might be and consider making this type of a gift, because sometimes financial advisors may be motivated to keep those assets under their own management. So, and again, it is up to the individual to make that decision for what is best for them, tax-wise, retirement planning-wise. However, it is helpful to give various brochures or booklets, to give them, as you've mentioned already, Father Dwight, to give them to people to take back to their family and their financial advisors so that they can better communicate the importance of this gift for them. And obviously then also the advantages of the income that it would also provide.
Jim, there's a question concerning about potential external factors of why we're seeing a decrease in the gifts and the gift annuity funds. And I think the one factor that we all could agree on is the heightened commercials on how long everyone is living these days and the uncertainty of what retirement really means, and that is in way of dollar amounts and, of course, the age. When is that going to happen? Put that in connection with the baby boomers who are starting to reach that age, and the front baby boomers are already at 65, and there's always the back end that has yet to get there. And if the retirement age is 65, those that are 55, when they get to 65, it probably will be 75. So it's really about expectations of, if I give you $20,000 today, am I going to be sorry that I didn't have it in my portfolio when I, quote, needed it for medical issues and medical costs? So I think that whole commercial, I think if you were watching the Super Bowl, you certainly, if not, you've certainly seen it with the Prudential commercials that say here, when do you think you're going to retire and how much money do you think you're going to need? That visual of living past that expectation is probably the biggest challenge right now for fundraisers. However, I think, as previously stated, always going back to first your existing donors who are already in the fund, because they already get the idea, and then to those potential ones year in and year out, even if they haven't given, because their circumstances may have changed for whatever it is, a CD that's continuously not producing a high rate of interest, and now that the market perception is up, and maybe they have made some gains in their other parts of the portfolio, such as if they have appreciated securities. So if you continuously ask the questions of those existing and potential, the circumstances they're living in may be such a good time for them to start thinking seriously about making a gift. And Jim, just to continue to say once again, your mission statement over and over is a driving force. So even though that's an internal but external, making sure that your marketing pieces match that. The fundraisers turnover may be something that other organizations are experiencing, so they don't have that opportunity to do that. Does that answer any other questions on external factors?
I know that, Joanne, thank you. I know that Craig may have another comment, and I just want to throw out there also, I mean, charitable gift annuity is just one element of some of your gift planning. It is never meant to be the only one, but it certainly can be an option for those people that it is right for and that are looking for that consistent, guaranteed income. And I think you bring up an important point that for a while, charitable gift annuities were not as popular because people didn't want to part, but I think some people are seeing the wisdom of at least having some of their retirement assets in them because they're able to give a gift to something they support strongly, as well as create a guaranteed stream of income. Craig, did you have a comment you wanted to make as we begin to wrap up today?
I only wanted to say that I wholeheartedly agree with Joanne's assessment. We live on uncertain times, and often gift annuities require a person to make a judgment about, and therefore a bit of a forecast of their own situation, and trading the availability, hands-on availability of funds with a return they couldn't otherwise make in the marketplace. And it's very complex, and Joanne experience is one that I hold in the highest esteem. So when she says it the way she says it, I learn from that, and I think that's exactly right.
Thank you.
Joanne, any final comments, again, about perhaps what, based upon your wide experience in so many different charitable circumstances, any last pointers for our audience for what may be a useful tool or method for promoting this very particular type of gift in a CGA?
I appreciate that opportunity to say this. It's just to continuously be in touch with your donors. Once again, the ones that have already given, say thank you and talk to them about what their circumstances are. And then potential donors, don't be worried or challenged by the political atmosphere in today's world, any of the tax issues. There's always a circumstance where people can, one, give to their mission, to the belief in the Episcopal Church, and secondly, they will always benefit from making a gift from one way or the other, maybe not as much as they had in the past, but there's always some benefit in making this gift in their lifetime. It could either be the fact that they've given it and they felt good and they feel happy about walking around, or they can see some immediate dollars working for them. I would certainly say this is a great opportunity to go out there and continuously talk to your donors.
Thank you, Joanne. And thank you, Craig and Dwight. We certainly do have time for questions, as people have an option to type them in now if they wish. But what I wanted to just close with is just to remind everyone that the Episcopal Church Foundation is the foundation for the entire Episcopal Church. We're here to help you, to empower your leadership through not only the sharing of best practices through our various publications like Funding Future Ministry or the Vestry Resource Guide, also to share tremendous amounts of resources on our Vital Practices website that was mentioned earlier. One of the most useful set of tools on that website are our various recorded webinars, which you can now see listed, and we have many, many more which are available. One I will highlight to this group is the one noted as the Prospective Donors webinar. That is available to simply give to any of your donors who might be considering making a planned gift in 35 minutes. I go over all of the basic types of planned gifts for individuals to consider. You can even use that within the context of an adult forum at your congregation, and all of us at the Episcopal Church Foundation would be happy to help you in constructing that. So please just contact us by email or by phone, and I'll put those up in a moment. The Episcopal Church Foundation does a number of things in leadership development as well as in financial resource development. We can help your parish in the area of capital campaigns on a sliding fee scale so that everyone can be assisted in that particular important fundraising. We also can assist you in managing your endowment, and we can also help you in setting up the structure for that endowment, in addition to all of the work that we do in helping you in your annual giving, annual stewardship work, and in planned giving, as you've heard at great length today. We have a number of wonderful webinars that are totally free for you. I would just suggest that you sign up as soon as possible. Many of our webinars are already filled to capacity given their growing level of interest in all of these areas throughout the Episcopal Church, but I encourage you to check out our website and sign up for regular updates so that you know when these webinars are coming up. And just in conclusion, in case anyone does have any final questions to ask, the Episcopal Church Foundation is the main resource for planned giving throughout the entire Episcopal Church. We're very proud to be serving this role since the mid-90s, and we look forward to helping you at your congregation, at your diocese, or Episcopal entity in moving your efforts forward and in supporting you to put together a unique program, much like Father Dwight and the people of St. John's in Norman, Oklahoma have put together. Please feel free to contact me or Ken Quigley, who is in charge of our endowment management area. Ken can specifically help you in the area of setting up endowment and management and gift acceptance policies, which are so crucial in building trust and confidence in the leadership of your Episcopal entity. Meg King regrettably couldn't join us today due to a complete lack of power in Pennsylvania, but she is always able to help you and assist you in putting together illustrations, sharing resources, or whatever you might need in discussing your program and discussing your own unique circumstances, because each Episcopal entity is unique and needs different things, but we're happy to help in any way that we can and in sharing all of our resources. So there have been no further questions. So with that, I will once again formally thank our COO at the Episcopal Church Foundation, Craig Bossy, for his insights and recap. Father Dwight Helt at St. John's in Norman, Oklahoma, thank you so much for your insight and your work in the trenches in the area of planned giving and charitable gift annuities, and of course with our financial friends at the State Street Global Advisors, who manages all of our planned giving and endowment funds. Thank you for participating today, and we look forward to helping you. So be in touch. God bless. Okay, that is the end. Thank you, guys. You can all sign off. I will cut out this last little bit. So thank you again. It was great. I thought it went really well and a very helpful conversation. And many people will benefit by it because we did record this and we'll make it available on our main website.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Jim.
Father Dwight, thank you very much.
Yeah, Jim, great job.
Thank you.
Take care, Dan.